Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. Thanks for being here. I appreciate it. This week I'm working on a really nice 3-color vertical swipe that is on top of a base of Oxide Black by Amsterdam. I'm also using Pearl Red, Pearl Violet, and Pearl Blue for my swipe colors. Again, on top of this bed of Oxide Black, which I love using as a base color. It makes a really good background. Also, this is mixed this week with Liquitex Gloss Medium, as well as half part floetrol too. So 50-50 is my ratio on my pouring mediums for my black, leading into my color. Alright, as I go into this pour with a bit of color, this is a bit of an experiment for myself on this pour, because I'm using again 50% floetrol with 50% Liquitex Gloss Pouring Medium, which I haven't had a much chance to use just yet. So again, this was a bit of a experiment as a black base for this pour. We'll see if it comes out as shiny as I hope, but ultimately these pearl paints always tend to blow me away in the end, so I'm curious how this will shake out in the end. Okay, now as I go in for my third color, which I believe is my Pearl Red. These paints are all mixed at the same ratio as my black oxide of 50-50 Liquitex and floetrol as well, so my consistency is the same between both colors and the black oxide as my base. And my pouring medium, which is titanium white by Amsterdam, is a bit thinner, so the ratio here would be I use 10 milliliters of paint to approximately 20 milliliters of floetrol, with some water for consistency. So this was again thinner than my paint themselves, but it was meant to be thinner to give off those great lacing and cell effects across this black oxide. Okay, and as I was working with these pearl paints for the first time in about 2 or 2.5 months, I was very cautious with how hard I was pushing down on my palette knife to make sure that I got a good enough spread of my color and lacing effects across the entire painting. Again, I did mix up a new batch of pouring medium, not knowing how it may react to both the Oxide Black and the paints themselves, so I was very careful with my swipes off the initial hop. Now leading into my second set of colors, I kept the same color combination on the second half, but also left some negative space in the middle, hoping for a nice lane of black oxide in the middle for some separation and some really cool contrast. Okay, and as a bit of feedback to the Liquitex pouring medium, I found out this week that in mixing my black paint, this medium is incredibly tacky and quite sticky. So if you're gonna be mixing with Liquitex pouring medium, it's a great product, although it makes your fingers incredibly tacky. So I chose gloves over bare hands this week, so no big deal. But anyhow, the lesson of the week I learned is that once this color is down, I learned that I don't like to swipe left to right particularly much at all. I found that I was very uncomfortable with my swiping technique. I didn't feel the palette knife was very comfortable in my hands, and I managed to swipe through it fairly well, but again, my level of confidence was super low here, not quite sure why. So again, I guess I've got to learn to work on this particular swipe motion a bit more. For myself, it just felt strange and weird. I guess I prefer to pull the palette knife towards me, coming right to left versus left to right. So anyway, that is a lesson for me for another day that will come on another pour. But here's my last swipe across the pour, which is 16 by 20, and leaving my nice valley of black in the middle there for my contrast as negative space. Now going in for my tilts for this pour. Now, one thing I did notice after the fact is that although I mixed my paints the evening before, is my oxide did thicken up quite a bit, and I didn't want to disturb it too much with too much water on the night of, so that would have created tons of pinholes to have to torch out later on. So I just stuck with the thicker paint than I really wanted to use on this evening, but why I'm going so slow in my tilts is that I wasn't sure again how this may react for the sake of the lacing because I couldn't see the color. I wanted to make sure that again the end result came out as pretty as possible with as much lacing and nice effects as I could get, but again not seeing those colors made it a bit tricky in seeing, I guess, A, where the color was, but B, where that titanium white may be as well, because it was fairly thick off the beginning. If you remember back in the earlier parts of the swipes, that white did stick around a bit longer than I thought it might, and didn't seem to want to push very far on this canvas. So I am probably here at about 2 times my regular speed, but ultimately the stretching worked out quite well just by going slow. Nothing to rush for, we're not in a big hurry to finish up this painting at all, but I found that by going slow it allowed me to see where that lacing was versus where the paint was as well, and where those colors are beginning to pop through. I could finally see where that color and ultimately the look of the painting might be in the end. Okay, and as I wrap up this last corner of this pearl mystery painting for myself, have you guys used pearl paints before? And if so, what types of techniques have you used, and what is your favorite type of technique? Let me know in the comments below. I'm curious for what you guys may make, and if you have used these pearl paints in the past. Ultimately, this painting began to take shape near the end. This is my last corner before I wrap it up. For my tilts, really was coming along, and I was quite happy with the colors as I could begin to see them when they were popping out, and of course that valley through the middle. Okay, and as I pull this final corner back just to reset for my painting, I was quite happy with how this pour turned out. This is a view of the overhead dry look 1 day later. It's about 24 hours after the fact. Once this is all done, so I was surprised by how much white was left over on top with this really pretty lacing and cell effects on top of the nice color of the pearl violet, red, and blue. It'll be very, very nice with a nice coat of gloss varnish or some resin as a finish in the end. So what do you guys think? I love your feedback on the pour itself. And if you have enjoyed the video, please click that thumbs up one below, and we will see you again in the next one.